lung tumor and air pollutant. Hey, what is that? Air pollutant? We have a new name here. Okay. Want to approve the minutes.
I'll abstain since I wasn't here for that. I'm new.
Yes, but you have to go sit in the corner. Okay, Dr. Parker.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second that.
There you go.
Okay, and will the clerk call the roll?
Yes, Dr. Burke,
Yes?
Dr. Parker,
Yes,
Yes.
Vice Chair Benoit,
Yes.
motion approved.
Okay. And we want to welcome out of the corner Judy Mitchell,
Coming out.
my favorite lawyer, my favorite everything. The appointment of chair and vice chair as necessary. Now, this is very confusing to me because I assumed in the past, I just appointed the chair and vice chair. Are we changing that procedure?
The appointment can come from you and it just needs to be approved by the other members of the board. Per the bylaws.
So this one's set up a little differently, it sounds like.
Okay.
And Mr. Chair.
Can I continue this item? Can I continue this item because I want to talk to each member of the committee about this. I wasn't clear on the process. So I want to find out who wants to spend the most time and is willing to do that. And who bet is,
So,
say, don't run out the door, Ben.
no, I'm getting pointed at like I'm the person for some reason. And Mr. Chair, actually, I'm actually the vice chair of this board right now. And I guess
Okay.
Mike was the chair. So technically, I think I was supposed to run the meeting, but please continue. You're doing a great job.
I relinquished you, Ben.
Darn it, I was trying not to bring it up.
Oh, okay.
So you-
And it says at the top, you didn't even have to bring it up. What am I doing there? I apologize, man. I swear to you. Okay.
It's okay.
Let me defer to my colleague.
Well, if you'd like to go ahead and wait, we'll wait on appointment of that vice chair, which we only have this meeting once a year
Or as needed during the
or as
year.
needed?
We actually meet 2 or 3 times a year.
Yeah.
It's what I would really like to do with this is I would like, Mike didn't do this and I didn't push him to do this, but I would like the chair to actually go visit the sites that the projects that we fund and bring back to the committee, their analysis of this, and because this thing is now what, 7, 8, 9 years old? The brain lung. I have never heard.
You're the only one here who
one
knows
committee-
that.
13?
13 years, I think it was 2004, 2003.
Okay,
It's 13 years old, Dr. Burke.
wow.
So, and I think I was chair one time. So I've never heard one report back from any chair about how they view the status of the projects that we funded. Now, we get staff, and our health officer gives us reports. But I would think that should be some interaction by the board member to these projects. So it's just been something that's been running around in my brain for a while, and I thought I would have the opportunity when Mike retired to put this into effect. So if everybody would just bear with me till the next meeting, I would like to bring back the appointment of the chair at that time.
So one other thing is that last year, we had Dr. Keith Black come to the board meeting and speak and tell what was going on.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea to have him or someone else who's doing research under this committee to come and talk about what they're doing for the whole board to hear it. So 'cause sometimes we're wondering what are they doing? And people in the audience that day came up to me afterwards and marveled at Dr. Black's work. They were just, and so pleased to hear about it in a public meeting. So I think that's a sort of a good tradition to keep going.
I think that's an excellent suggestion, just an excellent suggestion. And so we need to schedule not only Keith to come back, but the other projects that we fund.
Great idea, yeah.
Okay. Okay, we'll listen to our health effects officer now.
Sure. So this is item number 4. Is that right? Okay. So this is the report on the status of current projects. So basically, we had one research project from Cedars-Sinai, from Dr. Keith Black at Cedars-Sinai, that concluded at the end of December in 2016. This was the study of chronic exposure of mice to particles and looking at cancer-related and also Alzheimer's disease-related stem cell activation in the brain. So we've received the final report, and they're continuing to work on some manuscripts. Another update is regarding the funding of three different contracts, one for USC, one to UCLA, and one to Cedars-Sinai. We are in various stages of the contracting process. We have one hotly signed contract right here from USC, so that one is all signed off. We are sending one off to Cedars-Sinai for their signature today, and then still working on the third one for UCLA.
So I have a question. The recent news about particulate matter being, or pollution, I'm not sure, in general being connected to Alzheimer's in a study that USC had done on women. Are they going to continue that work under any of our grants? Or I think that Dr. Black is working on that as well. So I'm just wondering what the status is.
Sure. So, just to be totally clear, that work at USC on Alzheimer's was not funded by us. And the USC contract that I'm referring to here is not with those investigators. It's a different investigator at USC doing a very different kind of study. As far as work in in air pollution and Alzheimer's, the contract that was that we're working on with Cedars-Sinai currently is not about Alzheimer's. However, we did receive a proposal from Cedars-Sinai, from the same investigation team at Cedars-Sinai, to do work on Alzheimer's. And I think that one is discussed in item 7.
Okay, good, thank you.
Could I ask, Dr. Gosh, could you perhaps explain a little bit more in depth the nature of the studies? And then my understanding was with regards to Dr. Black and Cedars-Sinai, we received in essence a 2-phased proposal. And so we have funded that first phase, and then could you describe the second phase of that proposal that we would be considering and possibly bringing back?
Sure. So basically the three studies that were approved. One was for USC. This is titled "A Cohort Study of Air Pollution, Malignant and Benign Brain Tumors in Los Angeles County." So this is an epidemiologic study looking at both cancerous brain tumors and also non-cancerous brain tumors as well, using the very highly regarded USC Cancer Registry data. The second study that was approved was for a contract with UCLA with Dr. Art Cho, who's a toxicologist. This one is titled, "Do Changes in the Amount and Composition of Ambient Particulate Matter Influence the Induction or Exacerbation of Brain and Lung Tumors?" Again, toxicological study looking at both, essentially looking at the mechanisms of action for particulate matter on these disease endpoints. And then the third contract was for Cedars-Sinai with Dr. Keith Black. This is the role of particle-induced inflammation in the progression of brain tumors and neurodegenerative brain diseases. So again, the original proposal that we received had proposed a 1-year study looking at brain tumors and a 1-year study looking at neurodegenerative brain diseases such as Alzheimer's. So the funding that was allocated was for the 1-year study on brain tumors. So that was just under $750,000. And then we are discussing in item 7, essentially funding the year 2 of that proposed study, which was where they would look at neurodegenerative and Alzheimer's disease.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
May I answer, Dr. Garsh?
Yes.
What is the, there's been a lot of discussions about whether or not 2.5 particulate matters causes health risk or deaths, whatever it is. Anyone that you know of right now in our region doing that kind of study?
Looking at mortality, I'm not aware of any current studies on that topic here.
This is Dr. There's been, over the past, I would say 20 years, a large body of research, not just in the US, but nationally, on premature mortality from PM2.5. And I'm sure there's some ongoing studies that are following up on that, but the scientific consensus based on all those studies is that there were significant associations there. I think people are moving on to try to figure out the mechanism by which the health effects are actually happening. It's one thing to find associations between premature death and air pollution exposure, but to really understand what is happening in the human body, to do that, those types of toxicological studies that are being done at Cedars-Sinai, being done at UCLA, those are where people are moving the research so they can really understand that, and it helps with understanding who's susceptible. There's a lot of genetic studies going on out there, so the field has kind of moved in that direction away from just these huge epidemiological studies that find the general association.
But Dr. Fine, could you speak to the allegation that in fact there's no link between PM2.5 and mortality and what EPA has done, and sort of where the body of evidence is with regards to that?
Yeah, so EPA looks at this on what's currently a 5-year basis when they set the actual national ambient air quality standards, and they produce, document after document after document assessing the current state of the science, looking at all the available research that has been published since the last time they looked at it, and then EPA produces a assessment of what those health effects are. That goes through an independent scientific advisory committee looking specifically at that. It's made up of 20 experts across the country or more, and then their advice gets integrated into that report, and then that report gets finalized and then goes on to the administrator of EPA to set the standard. But that is the comprehensive document that assesses whether a particular criteria pollutant, like PM2.5, has certain health outcomes. There's no more comprehensive process than that, and there's a very strong scientific consensus based on that process and other meetings by national academies and other things over the years that yes, there are those associations.
That's a good question, because I know there's a contingent of scientists who think there's no connection between PM 2.5 and any kind of health impact or health effect. So
I would characterize that as a minority view in the scientific community.
okay.
Well, then I guess the next question would be, how much work has been done in studying nanoparticles?
There are some that has been sponsored by this agency over the last few years, not nearly as much as has been sponsored that has been looking into PM 2.5. There were, I used to do research on ultrafine or nanoparticles before I came to the district, but I'd say the money that was put towards that was probably greater maybe 7 to 10 years ago than right now, for whatever reason. There are challenges with looking at ultrafine particles from a epidemiology perspective, because exposure is something that's very hard to determine on ultrafines, because it changes from block to block, while PM2.5 changes maybe by city to city. So there are challenges. There's been a lot of toxicology work. We've sponsored some of that. But EPA, when they do this big, large assessment of PM2.5 effects, they also assess whether there's enough evidence for ultrafines to set a standard or to set some things in motion or to have suggestions for further research. And as these successive assessments have been finalized over the years, they are finding mounting evidence. It's a slow process before we get there to actually have a national ambient air quality standard. And I'm not as in tune to that world, maybe Joe K can fill in, as I used to be, but I haven't seen too much coming out lately on just ultrafines. Maybe you can see what you're seeing.
I have a question. I don't know if anyone yet has determined the answer. We have now stated that the gas company is going to give us $1 million, whatever, to do a health study, primarily for Aliso Canyon. Many of the methane pollutants that went into the air were really considered to be 2.5, contain some 2.5 PMs. Is that something that we should be kind of integrating with all of these other monies that we have going out and having that study and kind of dovetail, because this is all about health, even though that would be that particular region. I'm only asking the question because it seems to me that there are a lot of things that are related here, and that if we have somebody working on a little piece here and a little piece there, could we incorporate these and get a little bigger bang for our buck?
So when we're looking at Aliso Canyon, the pollutants that people have expressed concern about are mostly the additives to the natural gas and mercaptans, as well as potentially some of the gas phase air toxics that might have been part of that natural gas leak. It's not the methane itself, it's the other gases or other additives that were in trace amounts within the methane. And it hasn't been a lot of concern expressed over PM2.5. The mechanism by which wide-scale PM2.5 exposure would occur from a leak like that is uncertain. There is a little bit of data out there taken by a UCLA researcher that found on certain days he thinks he found, I haven't seen all the data, maybe an ultrafine particle signature on certain days. There was a concern that at one point when they were trying to kill the well, that they put a lot of drilling mud in to try to kill the well, and then that blew out. And if that did blow out, we probably wouldn't expect PM2.5. You'd probably expect some larger particles or larger droplets. So I'm not sure PM2.5 is the place to look for the health effects in the Aliso Canyon study, especially given the money we do have to look at the other things.
So the answer itself is no. They should not be combined.
I could have been much shorter if you would just told me I could have said no.
Right. Okay. Do we have any more comment on 4?
Nothing here?
Nope.
No, I think we're good.
Okay, I don't see, is Mr. O'Kelly there? I don't see him.
Yes?
Yes, he is.
Oh, there you are. You were hiding behind her.
I was trying. Thank you, board members. I'll maybe try what Phil didn't start with. Can I just say yes? And I guess that won't work. I'm kidding, obviously. I'll present a quick updated financial report as of this information is about 10 days old. So since inception of the foundation, which was in 2003, there's been about $8.3 million in revenues. About 5.7 million of that has been spent, with another 2.5 million currently obligated on the projects that you just heard about. So Free cash flow is only about $85,000 as of today. And the next level of funding, that the next question normally is how much money is in the Health Effects Research Fund, which is an SCAQMD special revenue fund, and there's about $1.5 million in that fund as of today. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions? So, okay, thank you very much.
You said 1.5 million.
Oh,
Excuse me, Chair, I just wanted to ask.
sure, no problem.
1.5 million is in that fund now. And is that ongoing revenues come into that fund, or what is the status of that?
So by SCAQMD governing board policy, 20% of penalties and settlements annually that are above $4 million. So if there's $5 million of penalty settlements, then $200,000 would come in the Health Effects Research Fund. So we look at that annually. I think the next movement of money would be small, maybe around $350,000, just based on penalties and settlements that have come in recently. So currently 1.5. I think that number will probably get up to about 1.8, in the next couple of months.
So what about the Aliso Canyon $8.5 million settlement?
So that would not normally go into the Health Effects Research Fund. That would be parsed out based on the specifics of the settlement.
There were no penalties
I see.
associated with the settlement.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So no.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, thank you.
Well, when you say that, what is the 4.5 million for then?
4.5 million was for the emissions as required under their annual emissions reporting. So when we
I thought that was,
No, it's not a fine.
oh, okay.
We had discussion, he understands.
Okay,
So move on.
Okay. Okay, to amend the Articles of Incorporation,
Yeah, so this item,
Megan Lowe. Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
sorry. This item is to amend the foundation's Articles of Incorporation to expand the type of research that the foundation can fund. Currently, the articles limit the foundation's purpose to supporting research concerning brain and lung tumors that are caused or aggravated by air pollution. The proposed amendments would expand the purpose to include not only lung and brain tumors, but other neurological conditions as well. And any amendments that are approved by this board would need to also be approved by the governing board and then filed with the Secretary of State.
Megan, does the Secretary of State have to approve the amended, is it the bylaws or the Articles of
Just the
Incorporation?
Articles of Incorporation.
So do they receive it or they actually approve it?
They receive it and certify it.
Okay,
And that takes about 10 days. It's
okay,
mostly a paper process.
right. Thanks.
Right. I don't know anybody's Articles of Incorporation that were amended that have ever been modified by the state. I'm sure there's some, but of the millions of Articles of Incorporation, what do you think? Maybe 2 get affected by the state?
Sounds like a challenge to me.
Yeah. So,
And, Mr. Chair, may I, can we don't have a lawyer there. Can we?
what do you mean we don't have a lawyer? What do you think Megan is?
I'm sorry, Megan, I can.
Don't take offense,
I get
Megan.
that a lot,
Don't take
okay.
offense.
I
I got a baseball bat here. I'll take care of him when he returns.
I'm so used to seeing Barbara and Kurt there, so I apologize. Could we generally amend the articles to say any and all health effects that the board itself would deem that is appropriate,
We
rather
could.
than having to go back each time?
Yes, if you
That,
wanted to make if you wanted to make a broader purpose beyond brain and lung health, you could expand it to health effects generally.
I want to change the title at that point.
Yes, yes.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah,
And then it gives us discretion to decide what it is we want to look at.
Instead of having to go back to the state each time to amend the articles.
So the Health Effects and Air Pollution Foundation?
Yeah, it could be pretty simple.
Should we sketch something out now? So
I think that's a great idea.
the vice chair said health effects of
The-
air pollution
The health
foundation.
effects of air pollution, or,
Foundation.
well, no, the health effects of,
Probably because
yeah, of.
we're
Air
not just
pollution
gonna study air
foundation,
pollution, we're
Right,
gonna study
health effects.
I like that too.
air pollution,
Yeah.
yeah.
Similar
So if,
fund.
I'll go ahead and make a motion that we're gonna go ahead and change both the title and the bylaws to reflect a more broader sense and let staff work that out and go ahead and send that up to the state.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Dr. Burke,
Yes.
Dr. Parker,
Yes,
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes,
Vice Chair Benoit,
Yes.
motion passes.
That's great. Okay, item number 7, we're back to our health effects officer.
Back to item number 7. So we've already discussed this actually quite a lot already, so I'm not going to repeat myself, but this is about consideration of funding a research proposal from Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. And again, this was the phase 2 of the study. Phase 1 being brain tumors, phase 2 being Alzheimer's, neurodegenerative diseases. The estimated cost is $750,000, again for a 1-year project period. But I do want to clarify that it's not that they will do the 1-year brain tumors and then at the conclusion of that then start the Alzheimer's project. There's a little bit of a staggered start, but in essence the 2 projects are going to be running more or less concurrently. So we anticipate a March start date for the brain tumor work and approximately a July start date for the Alzheimer's work.
And if I can add, that approval is going to be contingent upon these articles being approved by the board and the state, as well as a future transfer of funds that the board would have to approve from the health effects fund into the foundation.
okay. So when will that come before us? The transfer of funds?
It's set for March administrative committee, so April board.
By then, we should know whether
Yeah.
Secretary of State has filed our
Yes.
revised
Because
articles.
the articles will go to the full board in March, and then we'll send it to the Secretary of State.
Okay, thank you. So do we need a motion on this for the,
I think we do.
I'll move the staff recommendation here for this study.
I'll second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Dr. Burke,
Yes.
Dr. Parker,
yes,
Councilmember Mitchell,
Yes,
and Vice Chair Benoit,
Yes.
motion passes.
okay.
Okay. Do we have any other business?
not from here. Ben, do you have anything?
Yep.
Any public comment at your location?
No one jumping up.
Paul, would you like to say anything?
I'm good.
Paul has said he doesn't want to say anything.
I want to go on the road.
So we don't have any public comment here, so we'll adjourn the meeting of the, whatever it's called, committee for this thing.
Whoever the chair is.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank
Burke.
you.
Okay, thank you.
Have a nice weekend.